In the quiet village of Magba, where the mornings were painted with the sweet smell of fresh dew and the soft rustling of cassava leaves, a girl named Tavan grew into a young woman whose beauty stirred both admiration and fear. Her eyes were calm like river calm, her voice gentle like the evening breeze, yet every man who approached her with thoughts of marriage eventually disappeared without explanation. Some fell sick, some had terrifying dreams, and some simply fled the village before sunrise. No one ever understood why. Her mother, Kosega, watched helplessly as suitors turned away. She tried to hide her worries behind warm smiles, but the weight in her heart grew heavier each year. The elders whispered that something ancient slept beneath the family's name, something woven into their lineage long before anyone living could remember. Tavan herself felt the strange barrier around her, though she could not describe it. Whenever someone expressed affection, a cold wind seemed to circle her, and her chest tightened with a strange warning she could never voice. She prayed, fasted, and sought peace in the village church, but the feeling never left. One evening, after the sun dipped behind the hills and the sky glowed orange, an old woman named Nainkwe visited their compound. Known for her deep knowledge of ancestral matters, she walked with a staff carved with ancient symbols. Tavan had never seen her so solemn. Without greeting anyone, the old woman asked Kosega to gather the family in the courtyard. When they all sat on woven mats around a dim lantern, Nainkwe revealed a truth buried for generations. She told them of Tavan's great-grandmother, Ivran, a woman whose beauty caused endless conflict among warriors. To protect her, a powerful ancestral spirit placed an invisible shield upon her bloodline. The shield prevented men from claiming any descendant of Ivran unless the ancestors themselves lifted the barrier. But over time, as traditions faded and prayers were neglected, the protective blessing twisted into a curse. Instead of safeguarding the women, it isolated them. Love could not reach them, and no man could stay near them without misfortune. The courtyard fell silent. Tavan felt tears gather behind her eyes. She finally had an answer, yet it terrified her. The curse was not a simple matter, it was older than the village itself. Nainkwe raised her staff and said Tavan's destiny was still open. The ancestors had not abandoned her. There was a path to freedom, but it required courage, sacrifice, and a journey that would test her spirit. Tavan looked at the moonlit sky and felt a spark of hope flicker within her, small but steady, as if the ancestors had finally whispered back. She rose slowly from the mat, feeling the weight of her destiny settle upon her shoulders, yet strength flowed through her veins. Whatever lay ahead, she knew her journey would shape not only her future but her entire lineage forever. The morning sun spilled gold across the hills of Magba, brushing over the cassava fields and the dirt paths winding through the village. Tavan woke before dawn, her heart heavy but determined. The night's revelations lingered like the scent of the evening rains, the curse, the ancestors, and the fragile hope Nainkwe had spoken of. She could no longer remain passive. If she wished to break the ancient barrier that haunted her lineage, she would have to walk the path of the ancestors herself. Kosega prepared breakfast in silence, her hands shaking as she rolled fufu in a clay bowl. She dared not speak of her fear. Even the elders of the village had whispered that Tavan's destiny was extraordinary, and extraordinary paths were never simple. Tavan ate slowly, her mind rehearsing the questions she needed to ask Nainkwe again: how to appease the spirits, what rituals she must perform, and whether the path required leaving the village. By mid-morning, Tavan approached Nainkwe's small hut at the edge of the village. Smoke spiraled from a clay stove where herbs burned, filling the air with earthy scents that felt like an invitation to another world. The old woman waited, her eyes sharp and knowing. Without a word, she handed Tavan a small, leather-bound book of rituals, prayers, and songs that had been passed down from Ivan herself. "This is the first step," Nainkwe said, her voice low and reverent. "You must journey to the sacred hill, beyond the river, where the ancestor spirits dwell. Only there will the barrier be tested. The spirits will not accept fear, doubt, or weakness. They will demand truth." Tavan nodded, gripping the book tightly. Her palms burned with anticipation and anxiety. She could feel the invisible eyes of her ancestors upon her, and though fear stirred in her chest, a new strength anchored her resolve. Every step she had taken in life, every moment of isolation, had been preparation for this moment. That afternoon, she crossed the meandering river on a narrow wooden bridge, the water rushing beneath her like a chorus of whispered warnings. Birds chirped nervously from the trees as if sensing the importance of her journey. On the far side, the hill rose steep and formidable, dotted with ancient stones carved with symbols only her ancestors could interpret. Tavan climbed steadily, repeating the prayers written in the book. The wind picked up, whipping her anger cloth around her shoulders. Sweat dampened her forehead, but her spirit remained unbroken. When she reached the summit, the view of Magba below made her heart ache with both love and loneliness. The village she had known all her life now seemed small, fragile, and yet eternal. Nainkwe had warned her that the spirits would speak through visions, testing her understanding, courage, and integrity. Tavan closed her eyes and listened. The world became still. A soft hum vibrated in the air, rising from the stones. Shapes and faces flickered in the shadows, her ancestors, silent and expectant. The first trial had begun. Tavan stood atop the sacred hill, the leather-bound book clutched tightly to her chest. The stones beneath her feet were cool despite the afternoon sun, engraved with patterns worn smooth by generations of pilgrims. She knelt, tracing the symbols with her fingers, feeling the pulse of history thrum beneath her skin. The wind whispered through the grass, carrying voices that seemed neither human nor animal. The ancestors were speaking, testing her courage. Her first trial began silently. Shadows stretched across the hill, forming shapes of those who had suffered before her. Tavan's mind conjured memories of rejection, of the whispered laughter of suitors who had left in fear or confusion. Her heart quivered, but she reminded herself of Nainkwe's words: the spirits will test truth, courage, and integrity. Only the brave can break the barrier. Closing her eyes, Tavan began reciting the ancestral prayers from the book. Her voice, initially hesitant, grew stronger with each verse. The wind around her responded, lifting her hair and flowing anger cloth like gentle waves. Suddenly, the stones began to glow faintly, a warm amber radiance emanating from the carvings. The air thickened with energy, and Tavan felt as if invisible hands were guiding her forward, coaxing her to face the visions. A face appeared in the shadows, a young woman, eerily similar to Tavan, with sorrowful eyes and a trembling smile. "Why do you seek to change what is bound?" the vision whispered. Tavan felt fear crawl up her spine. "I seek freedom, guidance, and the chance to love and live without fear," she answered, her voice steady despite the tremor in her heart. The shadow shifted, forming a circle of ancestors, men and women of her bloodline, their faces serious, each carrying the weight of stories untold. "Truth guides the heart, but fear weakens it," one voice said. Tavan bowed, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. "I am ready," she whispered. "Teach me, and I will follow your path." The glowing stones paused brighter, then dimmed as if acknowledging her sincerity. A single gust of wind carried the scent of cassava leaves and river water, reminding her of the village she had left behind. For the first time, Tavan felt a flicker of hope. The ancestors were testing her not to punish, but to prepare her. She remained on the hill until the sun dipped below the horizon, tracing the stars with her gaze. Each constellation seemed to tell a story of resilience, courage, and the power of truth. Tavan understood then that her journey was only beginning, but she also knew she had taken the first real step toward breaking the ancestral barrier that had haunted her family for generations. As she descended the hill, shadows lengthened around her, and the wind seemed to whisper encouragement. The path ahead would not be easy, but Tavan's resolve burned brighter than ever. She carried the lessons of the whispering stones with her, a secret strength no one could see but that would guide every step of her journey. The next morning, Tavan rose before dawn. The events on the sacred hill still hummed in her mind like an unfinished song. Naimkwes had told her the next stage of her journey awaited at the river Ao, a place where the waters reflected not only the body but the soul. There, she would face visions of her deepest fears and desires, guided by the ancestors' unseen hands. The journey to the river was long and winding. Dirt paths twisted between cassava and yam fields, their leaves glistening with morning dew. Tavan's sandals crunched softly against the reddish earth. Birds chirped nervously, sensing the tension in the air, while distant goats bleated from the village outskirts. Despite the beauty surrounding her, Tavan's thoughts were heavy. Every step reminded her of the loneliness she had endured. Her beauty, once celebrated, had become a silent curse. Reaching the river Ao, Tavan paused. The water shimmered with the morning sun, reflecting her face with perfect clarity. She knelt and cupped her hands, feeling the coolness of the river seep into her palms. "I am ready," she whispered, placing the book of rituals on a flat stone nearby. The river stirred unexpectedly. Mist rose from the surface, forming shapes that danced and shifted like living shadows. Her reflection began to ripple, transforming into visions of the many suitors who had tried to approach her, only to live in fear or confusion. Some looked frightened, some ashamed, and others sorrowful. Tavan understood that the curse had affected not just her, but everyone who had come close. Closing her eyes, she focused on her breathing. Naimkwe's instructions echoed in her mind: the ancestors test courage, not strength. You must see your truth without flinching. Tavan allowed herself to feel the pain, the rejection, and the isolation fully. Then, slowly, she whispered prayers of forgiveness, for herself, for the suitors, for the ancestors. The river responded. The mist swirled into a protective cocoon around her, soft amber light rising from the water surface. Tavan felt warmth in her chest, as if an unseen hand had lifted the weight that had shadowed her life. She opened her eyes to see her reflection now whole and smiling, no longer distorted by fear or sorrow. The ancestors had accepted her sincerity. Before leaving, Tavan dipped her hands fully into the river, letting the water cascade over her arms. She felt renewed, strengthened by the connection with the ancestors and the land. Every ripple seemed to whisper encouragement, guiding her toward the next stage of her journey. With the leather-bound book pressed to her chest, she turned away from the river and toward the hills leading back to Magba. The sun shone brighter now, as if celebrating her first true victory. Tavan knew the path ahead would test her further, but the river of reflection had reminded her of one enduring truth: courage, honesty, and faith were her strongest allies. She walked steadily, each step a promise to herself, to honor her ancestors, break the curse, and reclaim a future filled with hope. When Tavan returned to Magba, the village buzzed with excitement. The annual Tifkwakye festival was beginning, a celebration of dance, storytelling, and ancestral heritage. Colorful masks and woven fabrics adorned the streets, and drums echoed from every corner, calling people together in rhythm and celebration. For the first time in years, Tavan felt the energy of the village welcome her instead of isolating her. The women wore anga cloths in bright yellows and reds, their beads jingling softly as they moved. Children ran barefoot, chasing each other while elders sat beneath the shade of large Iroko trees, narrating stories of the ancestors. Tavan walked among them, feeling the weight of the curse still lingering but lighter than before. The festival, with its vibrant life and cultural richness, reminded her that her connection to her people and traditions was as powerful as any curse. She joined the circle where dancers performed the quack hair plays, masks representing spirits and ancestral heroes. Tavan's eyes followed the intricate movements, the storytelling vivid in the dancers' motions. The drum's deep tones reverberated in her chest, echoing the heartbeat of her ancestors. Naimkwes had instructed her that understanding the spirit of her people was as important as any ritual. Tonight, she would observe, learn, and align herself with the collective energy of the village. Suddenly, a group of young men approached, drumming on smaller instruments. They bowed respectfully, their expressions curious but cautious. Tavan felt a flicker of fear, the old pattern of rejection, yet she stood tall, remembering the lessons from the sacred hill and river Isle. The ancestors had guided her, and now it was time to interact with the world fully, without hiding. A young man named Ahemba, known for his skill in storytelling and craftsmanship, stepped forward. He offered her a small carved wooden figure, a symbol of protection and respect. Tavan accepted it with a gentle smile, feeling no fear this time. The crowd continued dancing, the drums marking each heartbeat. Tavan's presence seemed to harmonize with the festival's rhythm. She was no longer an outsider but a part of the village's living spirit. As the evening wore on, the festival lights flickered across the courtyard and painted shadows on the walls of her family compound. The ancestors' voices, faint but ever-present, seemed to whisper approval. Tavan knew that each step she took in courage and honesty would slowly erode the barrier that had plagued her lineage. Tonight, among laughter, dance, and ancestral celebration, she felt a renewed sense of belonging. Before retreating to her room, Tavan gazed at the night sky. Stars shimmered above, reflecting in her eyes. She understood that her journey was far from over, but with the guidance of the ancestors, the lessons of the river, and the strength of her people, she could face whatever came next. The curse that had once isolated her no longer defined her. The morning after the festival, Tavan received an urgent call from the village elders. The traditional council had convened in the central compound, their faces serious beneath the shade of towering Iroko trees. She felt a flutter of nervousness, but the courage she had cultivated over the sacred hill and river Isle steadied her heart. It was time to face the elders and seek guidance on the next stage of her journey. The compound smelled of smoke and fresh cassava bread. Elders in long, embroidered gowns and traditional hats sat in a semicircle, their expressions solemn yet welcoming. Tavan knelt respectfully, her anga cloth falling in neat folds around her. She bowed her head as the eldest elder, Eondo, addressed her. Tavan, child of Ivran, the ancestors have been watching your progress. Your courage and sincerity are evident, yet the barrier remains. We call upon you now to demonstrate wisdom and understanding of your heritage. She nodded, listening closely. The elders spoke of trials that had shaped the bloodline for generations. Each challenge tested the virtues of honesty, patience, and respect for the unseen forces that guided the village. Tavan realized that the ancestors' blessing and curse were intertwined. To lift the barrier, she would need to harmonize her spirit with the village, embrace her lineage, and demonstrate humility. Eondo asked her to recount the lessons she had learned from the sacred hill and the river Isle. Tavan spoke clearly and honestly, describing the whispering stones, the visions of her ancestors, and the reflection in the river. She emphasized the courage she had found in acknowledging her fears, forgiving those affected by the curse, and embracing the responsibility of her heritage. The elders murmured among themselves, nodding in approval. One elder, Agband, raised a hand. "Your heart is strong, Tavan. But the next trial is not solitary. You must participate in the sacred harvest ceremony, demonstrating your unity with the community. Only then will the ancestors begin to lift the invisible chains that have bound your family." Tavan's pulse quickened. The sacred harvest ceremony involved offerings, dances, and blessings performed in unison with the villagers. It was both a spiritual and social event, reaffirming the bond between the people and their ancestors. She understood that this trial would test her patience, her humility, and her ability to connect deeply with others. The elders concluded the meeting by giving her a small charm, intricately carved from wood and blessed with herbs. "Carry this," Eondo said, "for it will guide your steps and remind you that the path is not only yours, but shared with the village and the spirits." Tavan left the council with a sense of purpose. The elders' words echoed in her mind: courage, unity, humility. The curse was not simply a barrier to love, it was a lesson, a test of character. With the festival's joy behind her and the elders' wisdom before her, she felt ready to face the sacred harvest ceremony. For the first time, she understood that breaking the ancestral barrier required more than personal strength, it required harmony with her community and respect for the lineage that shaped her. The dawn of the sacred harvest ceremony arrived with golden sunlight spilling over the hills of Magba. Villagers gathered in the central compound, carrying baskets of yams, millets, and fresh palm fruits. The air was thick with anticipation and the earthy scent of smoked fish and roasted cassava. Tavan adjusted her anger cloth, feeling the weight of responsibility settle across her shoulders. Today, she would prove her connection to both her people and the ancestors. Elders arranged the ceremonial space meticulously. Mats were laid in concentric circles around the largest iroko tree in the village, where offerings would be placed. Children and women decorated the space with palm leaves, while young men drummed in rhythmic patterns that resonated deep in Tavan's chest. The sound of the drums was more than music, it was a heartbeat, an echo of generations that had come before her. Naimkwes approached Tavan quietly, whispering advice: "Remember, child, the harvest is not just about giving, it is about alignment. Harmonize your spirit with the village, and the ancestors will guide your path." Tavan nodded, taking a deep breath. She understood that her actions today would reflect her respect, humility, and courage, virtues required to lift the ancestral barrier. The ceremony began. Tavan stepped forward, holding her basket of offerings. She placed yams and millet on the mats, bowing deeply before the iroko tree. The villagers joined in, chanting prayers taught through generations. Tavan's heart pounded as visions of her ancestors flickered in the corner of her mind, stern faces, approving nods, and faint smiles. For the first time, she felt a profound connection to the lineage that had both blessed and burdened her family. As the villagers danced and sang, Tavan was invited to join the circle. She moved with the rhythm, following the steps she had observed countless times. Each movement felt natural, as if the spirits themselves guided her. The drums echoed in harmony with her heartbeat. For the first time, she felt unity, the invisible threads linking her to the village and the ancestors intertwining with her own spirit. The elders approached, observing her every gesture. Eondo spoke